The Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
The Star Wars Holiday Special. Starring Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. Harrison Ford as Han Solo. Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. With Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca. R2-D2 as R2-D2. And James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader. Introducing Chewbacca's family. His wife, Mala. His father, Itchy. His son, Lumpy. With special guest stars, Beatrice Arthur, Art Carney, Diane Carroll, the Jefferson Starship, Harvey Korman, and an animated Star Wars story on the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and occasionally television discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by sweet Shanza Kovacs from the internet.
Mandy is Wizard.
And of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and if you like Wookiees with underbites, this is the movie for you.
Oh, we have got it going on, everybody. Every single month here over at Hero Movie Podcast, we have Patreon votes. So if you support us over at patreon.com/HMP, you get to choose, no matter what level you support us at, you get to choose a movie that we will watch this month. And you guys voted just, I don't want to say unanimously, because it was pretty darn close to unanimously that this month, you guys, before we go to Star Wars on the big screen, we have to go all the way back to 1978 on the small screen and to review the Star Wars Holiday Christmas Special. Or Holiday Special. There's no Christmas in that. That's not in the title. So thank you, I guess, to all the people over at Patreon. Then again, we put it in as an option for you, so really we can only be to blame for this.
Quite honestly, we all knew the second that you put that in there, that's what was going to win.
Yeah.
Why put anything else up there? Holiday Special A, B, C, or D.
Well, you know, when you think about it, though, I mean, 6 years in, it's surprising that we haven't gotten to it yet, to be honest.
It is.
There's a point where I could have sworn we had covered it, but then I looked back at some old notes and stuff I had. I covered it on a podcast called We Remembered It Better, which is a good name for something that covers the Star Wars Holiday Special. So this is my second time talking about it on a podcast.
And so Bruce will have the most plethora of information for this thing, so that's always good. But again,
that's not unusual either.
That's true. That's true. But we do want to thank you people for voting on that at patreon.com/HMP. And of course, support us at any level. And you could be like, we got 2 new people, man. Unbelievable. First one up here. $5 level here. Everybody, meet Nikki Snyder. Nikki, you are about to get yourself a HMP nickname here. Sean, what do we got?
Well, Bruce and I, we went to the green room and discussed it, and we've come up with this. So, Nikki, from this point forward, for the powers invested in me, from the good people who brought you the internet, I now christen you the Smash Cut.
The Smash Cut. Not bad, not bad. So thank you, $5 patron. Another $5 patron coming in here. 2 people this week. I love it, man. Is Timothy Eberhardt. Timothy, guess what? You're up. You're up to the podium here. Time to get your nickname. Stand and deliver. Sean, where did you and Bruce head up for this one?
Well, you know, Bruce and I, we really put our heads together on this one. It took a long time, like just hours of discussion, and we finally came up with what we both think is a real winner. And so from the the powers that be from the good people that brought you to the internet, I now dub you Gordy Two Shoes.
Gordy Two Shoes. I love it.
And that's a killer. That's a killer.
And we probably don't want to forget Mr. Barney. Who
that was next on the list because, yes, Mr. Robert Barney has been a supporter of this show for some time. Never got himself a nickname. Oh, well, that will not stand. So you boys have dreamt this one up.
Why don't you do this one?
Okay, let me consult my notes here because I want to make sure I get it worded correctly.
Sometimes there's just pages and pages you have to go through of names that you thought of, but you don't necessarily want to use. You got to do it. It's got to feel right.
And this is peak collaboration. And peak collaboration gives us, by the power vested in Sweet Shanzi from the internet, given to him by the inventor of the internet, Al Gore, Rojo Bobby, the Toledo Heartbreaker. And for the record, that is Toledo, Ohio, not Toledo, Spain.
I knew you were gonna mention that part. I knew you were. You cannot help yourself. I knew you were gonna do that.
Rojo is a Spanish word that could be misleading.
It's true. I was just like, okay, Robert Spanish makes sense. But all right, so thank you.
These are three terrific HMP nicknames. I mean, Rojo Bobby, the Toledo Heartbreaker, Gordy Two Shoes, the Smash Cut. Get out of here. What a great time to be joining HMP.
The power of collaborative naming.
If you would like to have us collaborate for a nickname for you and help this show at the same time and get yourself the pre-show, the post-show, and the Dinger Zone. Dinger Zone was a long one this week, guys. It was a good one, so check that out. We talk all kinds of Star Wars stuff. Because it's the Star Wars season. I don't know if you've noticed, but
it is Christmas.
Christmas and Star Wars, they kind of go together like peas and carrots, everybody. Ain't nothing you could do about it. They just together. So we'll be talking about all that stuff. Hit us up, patreon.com/HMP. Now, because I played a long clip at the beginning of the show, I am not doing any kind of trailers or anything else like that. So let's really...
oh, man, I made a trailer, too.
Oh, no, you did not. Let's go ahead and do it because it's the most important part. Let's see how you connect this hunk of junk to comic books, Bruce. I'd like to see it.
Well, many people think Boba Fett's first appearance was in the holiday special, but diehard fans like Sweet Shanzi from the internet probably know that's not true. And no, I'm not talking about the retconned version of Star Wars Episode 4 that added Boba Fett digitally in 1997. I'm talking about Boba Fett's actual first appearance. Well, at least according to Wikipedia, so take that for what it's worth. But Boba Fett's, and by the way, I'm sorry that I'm stumbling, but my autocorrect changed the word Fett to feet every single time I typed it. So I'm correcting Boba Feets to Boba Fett.
Sounds like something Tracy Morgan would say. I got Boba Feets.
Well, Boba Fett's legitimate, honest-to-God first appearance was not in comic books, which is where this segment normally leads, but the one and only first appearance of the galaxy's most iconic Mandalorian bounty hunter, though technically he might not be a Mandalorian, and given the high quality of the Disney Plus show about a Mandalorian bounty hunter who is perhaps also not a Mandalorian, yet they still call the show The Mandalorian, so I'm going to call him a Mandalorian. What was I talking about? Oh, yes, Boba Fett. Boba Fett, his first appearance was, drum roll please, the San Anselmo Country Fair Parade in 1978. I'm sure fans of country fair parades are familiar with this fact, but this is perhaps the only character I've ever written a country fair parade connection instead of a comic connection. Should we make a new theme song, guys? You know, like, it's time for Bruce's Country Fair Connection. Does that work?
No, it's gotta be more country western than that.
Oh, I mean, it's time for Bruce and his Country Fair Connection. Does that work?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Now, San Anselmo is an incorporated town in Marin County, California. And guess where Skywalker Ranch is located? That's right, Marin County, California. Would you believe that a person once looked me in the eye and straight-faced told me that Marin County is like the Beverly Hills of California? Yes. When I mentioned to him that Beverly Hills is, in fact, in California, he said, "Don't be a dick," then walked away. That person has not spoken to me since, and that's right, Michael Henry. I'm calling you out. If you don't like it, blasters at dawn, you imperial scum. Anyway, San Anselmo is located 1.5 miles west of San Rafael at an elevation of 46 feet. It's located about 20 miles north of San Francisco. The town is bordered by San Rafael to the east, Fairfax to the west, and Ross to the south. Mount Tamalpais dominates the view to the south, and the population was 12,336 at the 2010 census. The land in and around San Anselmo was mostly pastoral until 1874, when the North Pacific Coast Railroad added to its line a spur track from San Anselmo to San Rafael. And
Hold on a second, Bruce.
Yeah.
What's the GDP?
Oh, I got to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I do know that the post office opened in 1892, and it incorporated in 1907. The name came from a Punta de Quinta land grant, which marked the valley as the Canada del Anselmo, or Valley of Anselm, with Anselm being the name of a Native American who was buried in the area. San Anselmo was the silent film capital of the early 1900s, and in 1963, a cast iron statue of a deer affectionately known as Sugarfoot by locals was donated to the town. This statue still stands today, and children enjoy riding on the back of Sugarfoot after trips to the library. The town is featured in the song Snow in San Anselmo by Van Morrison, a person of whom I'm quite the fan. And the most prominent resident, of course, would be movie director George Lucas, who used some of the proceeds from his film American Graffiti to buy an old Victorian house in San Anselmo. Lucas worked on a Star Wars script for 2.5 years, writing much of it in the back of that house, where he shared a room with a jukebox. Some other famous people from San Anselmo also include some guy who invented mountain bikes named Gary Fisher, and Neil Schon, the guitarist for Journey, is also from San Anselmo. Boba Fett made his first appearance in 1978 at the San Anselmo County Fair Parade, so this has been your country fair connection, the first and hopefully last of its kind.
Wait. I got this. It's time for Bruce's Geography Connection. Terrible. All right.
Guys, vote for a loser, you get a loser.
Yeah, well, that's democracy at work, everybody.
Where in the world is Bruce Leslie?
I'm in San Anselmo, ladies and gentlemen, next to Sugarfoot.
I'm out here by Sugarfoot. Come on down and say the praise it pays. Okay, 1978 holiday special. The thing's so bad, George Lucas said that if he could go to, find every VHS tape copy of this thing and burn it to the ground, he would do so. Agree? Disagree?
So bad that it in an era where they would re-show like the made-for-TV Spider-Man movies every year for about 6 years, this sucker was a one and done.
I mean, those movies came on when I was a kid, so like they were still recycling them all the way up to the the mid and late 80s even.
And it
So the thing about the Star Wars holiday special to me is that it's the first thing I ever bought illegally. I was at a Comic-Con. I was about 12, and I bought a VHS copy of this thing. And I was just so excited. And, because it was also illegal and it was Star Wars, I was like, man, this might be the greatest day of my life.
Yeah,
and
when
then
you're
I took
like
it home
12.
and watched it. Yeah, and it wasn't. It was not.
Man, the first thing I ever bought illegally was a butterfly knife.
That sounds right for where you grew up.
Now, one weird thing to me with the holiday special is in all the pre-internet years that I lived through, like this show preempted The Incredible Hulk and Wonder Woman, two shows I never missed when I was 4 years old. So I watched this like one time only, broadcast television at a very young age, 4 years old. And then later on in life, like in my teens and 20s, sometimes I would have these weird, faint memories of a little Wookiee trying to put a Bantha doll back together. And I didn't know, like, did I have a really lucid dream, or was there like a Star Wars TV show? And there was no YouTube. There was no Wikipedia. There was only like people, you could check your local encyclopedia. It didn't have this in it.
Yeah.
Then.
Your Encyclopedia Britannica is not going to mention the day and date of the Star Wars Christmas special that clearly everyone hated.
And so there's a whole lot of me talking to people about my same age and saying, Do you remember, like, I kept remembering like it was a TV show that maybe got a couple of episodes or something. I was like, do you remember there was like a weird Star Wars TV show? Or I was convinced that I had absolutely imagined this whole thing until, the internet became a common enough thing where people would talk about, oh, you remember the horrible special, and then cons became a thing that I went to and you could see the tapes. And now it's pretty present in the zeitgeist, actually. I think way more present than the Ewok movies are.
Oh, and it's certain for something that they didn't want to get out and continue to proliferate over the years and everything. It does kind of go to that Barbra Streisand effect, where if you just be like, "Hey, don't look over here. You don't want nothing to do with this." Well, that's what we're gonna do. Sorry.
Yeah.
One of the strange, like they even sent YouTube takedowns for the old Doctor Strange movie about the time the new Doctor Strange was coming out. It's weird how tolerated this is on YouTube, also.
Well, I mean, YouTube's the Wild West, and it's getting when the West gets tamed, it's even worse. So
it's the Wild West until you need to watch Captain America 2: Death Too Soon.
Yeah,
I mean,
what a
pretty protective.
Yeah,
but this one is like prominent, easy to find, not hidden in any way.
That's true, but us cineasts have Captain America 2 on DVD. So, but that's cineast. It's different. I get it.
So. You guys, have you heard that Jon Favreau wants to make a new one?
Here's the thing. Now, if they did, would you want it to be kind of like, tongue in cheek? Oh, okay. All right. Check this. Here's my idea. You know how we had the Brady Bunch movie in the 90s? And it was kind of like it was that tongue-in-cheek, we know what we're doing here. It's clearly we're in on the joke and we're making fun of this whole situation. If they do it like that, I'm all for it. I think even if they try to do a really good job but have it be sincere, I think it'll suck.
I think they'll just make a really good show. I don't think, other than probably the celebration of Life Day and calling it the holiday special, I don't think it's going to have any creative roots in this thing.
You're not going to be like, here's Steve-O as a shopman?
And don't let exactly. And don't let Bruce Vilanch anywhere near the production.
Oh, man, burn him in effigy, maybe.
Man, that'd be great. I would love that. That guy has been working since the mid-'70s, and he hasn't come up with a good new joke since then. Since the first day he entered what I'm guessing is probably Barbra Streisand's special.
And I always kind of think you shouldn't be too worried about what other people have. That doesn't really impact me very much, but it really bugs me to think he's probably pretty rich.
I don't think he's that rich, but he's not. He's not fighting with his husband.
I mean, he spent 14 years as the head writer on the Emmys, right? And he gets all those sweet Residuals from Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think. Look, I wouldn't. I don't know that I'd call the man rich, but he like Sean said, I don't think he's worrying about where that next royalty check is going to come from the minuscule amount of work that he did on whatever it is that he attached his name to at one point or another. Hadn't changed his haircut since then either, I don't believe. Sorry. Comic book connection. South Park episode where Cartman's going trick-or-treating as the Incredible Hulk. He always gets, they go, oh, look, Bruce Vilanch.
Oh, that's good. I like that one.
And as you might imagine, he gets a little bit upset that everyone thinks he's Bruce Vilanch and not the Incredible Hulk.
That's great.
Oh, man.
But every time, everyone looks at him and goes, oh, look at this. Captain America, Iron Man, oh, Bruce Vilanch.
Well, I guess we should get into the beat-by-beat breakdown on this one, right?
Absolutely. Step by step.
Boy, should we ever.
I've got a question to start off with. Life Day. Mm-hmm. I've seen this more than once, and I've always been kind of unclear. Is Life Day like a Wookiee holiday? Is Life Day a Kashyyyk thing? Or is Life Day throughout the galaxy?
Here's the thing. Now, had you asked me previously, and I'll admit, this is the first time I watched this thing in its entirety. I've seen little bits and pieces on YouTube over the years. And like I said in the previous episode or Mandalorian or any podcast where I talk into a microphone and words come out, I had not seen this thing all the way through. So this was my first time watching this. And I would have guessed that yes, it would be just a Wookiee thing. But, with the Mandalorian coming into play here and Horatio Sands' character mentioning that he's going, away for Life Day or something like that, makes me feel like it's a little bit beyond that. And at the same time, too, with Carrie Fisher singing her song at the end, her, You'll Never Walk Alone or whatever it is she's singing to the Wookiees. I feel like she's got to know what it is, too. So I think it may be more Wookiee-focused, but, while I guess, you don't have to be a Christian per se to celebrate Christmas because many folks who have no religion of any sort to celebrate Christmas. So maybe it's kind of like that.
I'm going to be bold here and say maybe it's kind of like St. Patrick's Day. Like at its root, it's Irish, but everybody gets drunk on St. Patrick's Day, whether they're Irish or not.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Maybe its roots were in Kashyyyk and it just kind of took over the galaxy because people love trees.
What if that's what they really do on Life Day? Is they just like St. Patrick's Day is just an excuse to get ridiculously hammered?
Sure, why not, man? It's kind of a dismal place to live. You need a good excuse.
Oh man, speaking of dismal places, this whole show is literally watching people watch media for the most part. It's unbelievable what this thing is. A
lot of it, for sure, yeah.
And there's like an extended 20 minutes of grunting.
Oh, my. Okay, so apparently a lot from what I read, a little bit of research that I did, all of this really kind of, at the end of the day, while not helmed by him or really oversaw by him, the crux of all of this comes from George Lucas himself, who, lobbied for we need to have a whole big thing about Chewbacca and his family and stuff like that. And he argued for exactly what we got, which was like no subtitles, no nothing. And supposedly even Bruce Vilanch himself was just like, why are we going to do this? No one can understand what they're saying. This is going to be silly. But apparently, Lucas won out here, and this is what we got.
Well, this is the deal, right? Because you have a bunch of people who put this show together who were clearly not given like a Star Wars Bible or anything that. And so what they did was they had what they were given, and then I'm guessing probably everyone had seen Star Wars, but then everybody was like, the way that it works with like, how do I put it? The way that it works with people, like when you're watching a morning show where they're talking about comic books and it's the Biff Bam Pow thing, where like Biff Bam Pow, comic books aren't just for kids anymore, like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That's what this feels like to me, where there are many, many people in a room who are used to making variety shows and award shows, and that's what they were best at. So they were basically they wanted to make intergalactic hee-haw. And that's what they did.
Yeah, the guy who directed this, if you look through his filmography and everything, it's all variety shows and things of that nature. You'll get a couple of narrative things here and there, but most of it is just all variety stuff.
And I know even though Star Wars was a big hit in 1978, I mean, some of the momentum was still building. There were a decent number of people who hadn't seen Star Wars. I mean, there was like, say you're a 47-year-old vacuum cleaner repairman who mainly watches football, and you don't have kids, you haven't seen Star Wars, and you probably see this because it comes on, and back then you had 3 choices. You at least watch a few minutes of it. There were probably some people that thought this is what Star Wars was.
This is what made all of this money? This is what you kids like? Ugh, I'll never understand the youth.
Am I going to watch Crystal Gale, or am I going to watch that Star Wars thing?
I vote for Crystal Gale, but this didn't
Juice Newton.
This didn't do Star Wars fans any favors among the normies, because there was a time not all that long ago Star Wars fans still weren't the normies.
It didn't do any of the actors any good either, because it's weird because many things are kind of carried over from this. Obviously, a lot of kind of reused footage from Star Wars and everything. And like Ben Burt actually did all of the kind of sound effects and everything. So like all the
not
Wookiee,
all of them.
Well,
all he did was the Wookiee
language
effects,
at least. Yeah. Maybe not the other good
the
stuff.
thing that sounds like cartoons where people are falling on their butt.
You're right. Yeah, maybe I should have select ones clearly. But
yes. I think a burning question I've always had, and I'm embarrassed that I don't know the answer to this. But is Itchy Mala's dad or Chewbacca's dad?
Itchy's the old kind of grandpa one, right?
Yeah, and I always wondered, is he Chewbacca's dad or Mala's dad?
Man, that's an excellent question.
And also, Itchy's inbred, right?
Well, here's it. Now, everything in this looks super strange, and it started with the for me looking at it with all the Wookiee characters, but it went over to most of the other characters as well. So little blinking in this entire thing. It's disturbing.
I heard that.
Well, I can tell you that a lot of the people who were involved with this clearly had found cocaine.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce Valanche himself has said that he wrote most of this on cocaine.
I think that's Bruce Valanche just making an excuse for his terrible work.
Probably.
I think that cocaine inhibits blinking because that's my number one thought on why
it must have. But like, whenever that thing's watching the little tubes or whatever, like I'm watching, I'm just going blink, blink, blink. Harvey Korman's not blinking. No one's blinking in this thing except for like there's one Imperial guard. Like he's almost blinking too much. He's making up for everybody else that's not blinking, and he just kind of like puts on the bedroom eyes at one point where he's just like, we're gonna be searching your place, just blinking right at him like a.
Closely, if you look closely, he's blinking Morse code for "Oh God, get me out of here."
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. It was at that furious pace that you probably could put a couple of dashes and dots in there.
Now, is this the last time we really saw Mark Hamill before the accident that changed the way he looks?
It's after the accident.
Oh wow, he didn't. I didn't realize that because
that's why the makeup got so much makeup on is that they're hiding the accident.
So much makeup on. Woo!
Yeah,
man. Harvey Korman, a git. I mean, he's a git. He's definitely a star. I guess he was the draw to this. Him and maybe a little bit of Maude in the cantina. But as a person who is a proud fan of his, this is not his best work.
What? Controversial statements all over the place. I'm telling you, 2 weeks with you, and I don't know if our audience can handle these hot, edgy takes.
I mean, this is no Blazing Saddles or Carol Burnett show here.
No, I would say that.
Don't forget his best role as the Great Gazoo in the Flintstones.
Very good work there too. Excellent.
Hello, Dum Dum.
Everybody talks about how Gazoo's terrible, and they are right. But at the same time, too, something about that character I kind of like, and I think it's him really.
He calls Fred Dum Dum. What's not to like?
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's very good, man. Very, like the whole thing when he's the android whose power keeps running down. Like that really is a tutorial on how to get people to change the channel.
Oh my gosh. It is so cringily bad that it's just, you feel sorry for the man. You're just like, oh, you can't watch it. You look away. You look away because you're embarrassed for him.
And in the cooking segment, he takes way too long to set the hook, which is when the extra arms come out. Like a lot of people probably didn't make it to the key gag of the extra
arms. Well, and the
arm.
thing is that with the extra arms and stuff, when they get to that point, they're there, but I think you're right. They don't make enough of a big deal on it if you're barely paying attention, because it's, the chances are you probably are at this particular point, because it's like 20 minutes into the darn thing, so you're probably half asleep as it is. So in your drunken stupor state that you're bound to be when you're watching this, you don't even see the arms until it's almost too late.
If I may take the floor for a moment, here is the thing with Harvey Korman. Harvey Korman was one of the great straight men of all time, and that he had perfect, like almost pitch perfect timing. He could set you up for the kill. He was really, really great. He is not bringing the thunder with him. That is not who that guy is. And so when they have him making dumb faces, when they have him trying to tell the quote jokes unquote, then you're in the wrong spot. If he would have had someone doing the goofiness and then he is reacting off of the goofiness, it probably would have been a lot better.
Oh, you do the whole, I can't remember what they call it in the little improv shows or whatever it is that people do this kind of nonsense at, where someone else is doing your hands for them. If he had no use of his hands, and he had 4 extra, 2 sets of hands there doing all the stuff as he's going through it, that could be hilarious. But that's not what we got.
You know what the classic gag is with that bit? The one that kills every time? When you scratch the crotch. They always die.
Oh, my God. So funny.
Yeah, they tried having a sidekick with him, but he kept laughing too much at Tim Conway, so they had to take him out.
Oh, that would make sense, yeah.
If Conway came in as just like his little assistant or something, oh, man, that has set everything off.
Little assistant.
Dorf. Yeah, he would do the Dorf, Space Dorf.
Yeah, just,
Dorf
he's used to coming in on the knees there. Just make sure he comes in, dress him up in some little funky outfit. We clearly got a lot of the old Star Wars costumes sitting around there in storage that we're breaking out for the cantina scene we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But yeah, if we did that and we got a little bit of a dwarf helping with the cooking, listen, I'm all about it.
That's what I liked about the Carol Burnett show, man. It was filmed live, and they sent it out the way it was filmed, so there was going to be at least one segment that was just 7 minutes of Harvey Korman laughing and not able to deliver his lines while Tim Conway killed.
It's good stuff.
Now
none of it here. None of it here, though.
In the cantina, tell me if I'm wrong, but is Harvey Korman like straight up sexually harassing B. Arthur? Like, she's not into him.
Yeah, he may be barking up the wrong tree altogether, perhaps.
Well, I'm going to say that in my opinion, she's always seemed like the kind of person who'd be pretty darn tough in a scrap. So you should get the hint with her real quick, because she could probably mess you up.
Oh yeah, he's playing a not a heavy, certainly not a heavy in this particular role with his volcano hairdo going on that apparently you drink out of.
Why is he pouring the drink in his head when he's clearly got a mouth?
Well, it's like we were talking about with the other stuff. I don't even know if this was on air or not. Again, everything's melding together here, but some people keep their stuff in different places, I guess. I don't know.
You know what he is? He's actually the female version of a Twi'lek. Like, regardless of what we think their gender is, all the ones with tentacles are the males, and Harvey Korman is the female.
Dancing around, all skimpy outfit and whatnot. That's no good.
You know what they do with those tentacles now, Adam.
Oh, boy, do I ever. Danger Zone, everybody. That's where you hear all this nonsense. I'll say this, though. I kind of like B. Arthur's bit. Like, it's not great.
Her song is the best song.
Yeah.
She's not the best singer, but her song I enjoy more than Jefferson Starship or Diane Carroll.
Well, I like the Starship, too. Honestly, that, like, again, it's got no context. It doesn't necessarily need to be in this show whatsoever. But, like, as far as, like, a talented musical number, that was in there. I'd rather see that than another 25 minutes of Wookiees growling at each other in a language that no one understands.
I don't know. That's a tough call for me. What would I rather see more of? The softcore pornography or the Wookiees in a cardboard set? That
was another one. So let's talk about that for a second. We give Grandpa Wookie a VR headset or something.
Yeah, and Art Carney, who we got to talk about in a minute, but Art Carney describes it as wow. That's how he describes it. It's a wow, if you know what I mean.
And then Diane Carroll comes on and just kind of says a lot of like very, suggestive sort of stuff where you're just like, there's no way this is appropriate for children to be watching. Why is this? And then we cut back to Grandpa, and Grandpa's we'll call it a great time.
Do you think there's at least one draft of the script where they had Diane Carroll dress up like a Wookiee? Because, I mean, if he's fantasizing and he's a Wookiee, you kind of expect he fantasizes about other Wookiees.
But if you got Diane Carroll, you're not going to dress her up. You want her to be a sexy, sophisticated lady.
But think how awesomely bad and crazy and weird it would be if we actually had Diane Carroll in a Wookiee suit trying to sing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not taking away. Great idea. But that being said... That's how you have to have a writer's room. You just got to, you give a little affirmation there, you lie your butt off, and then you give your own idea. But I think if she was wearing that, it would be good. But at the same time, too, I like the idea of Chewbacca's wife, grabbing this and going, Dad, what are you looking at? Oh, my Lord. Human ladies doing this stuff. We're not.
In all fairness, I had a roommate who did like watching Wookiee porn, so it tracks.
It tracks. It takes all kinds. Everybody.
Roommate, do you mean you?
Of course not. That's disgusting.
I would never, sir, and I'll thank you for never bringing up my name again in things that could certainly not have ever been taking place by me on Thursdays. What? No, I didn't say that out loud. Shut up.
It's like you walk into the room. Hey, what's Star Wars? Oh, my eyes!
Hey, is this that new Mandalorian show? What's going? Oh my God! No, thank you.
Now, Art Carney.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my mind, I want to think that Art Carney is kind of the sort of legend, kind of comedy TV legend that deserves a certain measure of respect. But then again, maybe he was just in like a legendary show. Like he was the world's first Barney Rubble.
Here's the thing. I think Art Carney is actually a very talented guy. I think this is, obviously towards the twilight years of his life and everything. And those days are gone. The days of, honeymooners are out the window here. But if you look back, and I think you do have, there's a semblance of what you're saying is that's absolutely correct, in as much as the pair of those guys, him and Gleason together, are what really made that show pop. You have both of them. I think they're both talented in and of themselves, but those two together made such a fantastic comedy powerhouse that it's just tough to deny. And again, you have great writers from back in that era and everything. You've got Bruce Vilanch doing cocaine, doing this.
So he says.
Yeah. Again, you're right. Probably just an excuse for how garbage it is, but. So
gets to be Art Carney. He also only gets to be Art Carney for just a few moments too. Like he does a little bit of. I think you book Art Carney, you kind of want him to do an Ed Norton impersonation throughout the whole thing.
Of course,
but he only gets to do it in that one little bit where he's like hooking up the. I don't know what the machine is supposed to be. I guess maybe it's when he's hooking up the thing where Jefferson Starship plays music for the. Imperial officer or whatever that's in there. Mm-hmm. And he gets to do a little bit of his old shtick where it's like he's preparing to work on it. He slaps the fly out of the air, stomps on it, gets sidetracked. That was kind of, right up there with Ed Norton trying to learn how to play golf when he says, first you address the ball.
Hello, ball.
Hello, ball. Yeah, it's like right up that alley. Right. But the rest of it, he's not getting to do what he does.
Well, again, it doesn't feel like he's writing this or anything, or the people that have skills are actually writing this, because there's semblance of stuff there, but it's really all pretty terrible. Now, something that I read, I don't know if this is apocryphal or not, but supposedly Art Carney's character here was kind of a prototype early idea of Lando. I don't know how true that is, but that's what the internet has said.
Wow, I wonder how different the world is if they'd ridden that horse all the way to the end. like Empire Strikes Back, here comes Art Carney. This isn't the deal we made.
Pray I don't alter further. Does a pratfall or two.
You with the ice cream machine, come with me.
Oh, man, that would have been great.
I'd love to see it. Why not? So, I want to talk about this, and because I don't know if you guys saw it, but like when you see the intro there and everything, they go through all the lists. Hey, it's Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher. We even had, for the first time actually, get James Earl Jones mentioned as Darth Vader, or this is the voice of Darth Vader. But they don't. They go Anthony Daniels as C-3PO and R2-D2 as R2-D2, and I thought, wow, what a screw you to Kenny Baker. Turns out Kenny Baker was not in the costume, and it was all remote control.
He was not.
My guess is probably due to Kenny's glug.
I think there actually is some movie footage that gets shown with Kenny Baker in the costume.
Sure. I guess if you want to count it that way.
Yeah, there has been like a bit of an issue made about maybe he did deserve some kind of billing, because you do see Kenny Baker perform in this, even though it's recycled footage. But yeah, the actual new footage was remote control R2-D2.
That's the kind of mailbox money you want, everybody, where they just send you a check for the one time that it aired on television. You get your nickel and a half for the 2 seconds that you were in the Star Wars, and then you're done.
Now, Sean, you know how much I love to talk about how nothing is too esoteric for the old school EU.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but there's an actor playing an Imperial officer in this show who was also playing an Imperial officer in Star Wars, who was on the Death Star when it got destroyed.
Right.
So there is like the EU borderline fanfic EU that has to tell the story of how he was able to escape the Death Star so that he could appear on Kashyyyk during Life Day.
Right.
Where do you come down on that?
I think that the EU, as you know, the original EU, there are some things that are great. Like, Thrawn is still one of my favorite bad guys of all time. I'm glad that they brought him over. There's a few other things. Coruscant, that's pretty cool. But when it comes to 95% of the old EU, I am glad that it is gone. I am glad there's no Luke. I'm glad that there's no. I'm glad that Chewbacca wasn't killed by a moon falling on him. I'm glad for all of those things.
That happens.
And for people who aren't familiar, Luke, L-O-O-K, am I spelling that right?
2 U's.
Oh, I'm sorry, L-U-U-K. Essentially, Luke's severed hand grew a new body. And that's Luke.
Man.
Speaking of cocaine.
I love it. But I think the easier story would have just been twin brother.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
you always go twin brother. Slap a mustache on them. Heck, it's the 70s. They do it all the time.
Yeah, I guess they weren't really concerned about G canon, C canon, S canon, all whatever types of canon they used to have when they made the holiday special.
Why is the cinematography and acting from people that are like decent actors just so unbad? Like Mark Hamill's thing is just so cringingly bad.
Yep.
No rehearsal, one take. That's what I'm suspecting.
Oh, for sure,
It's
man.
gotta be. I will say this, though. One thing that I was actually really surprised with, because as I would imagine, they say Harrison Ford not too keen on doing this. Shockaroo. Shocker. I will say this, though. He's doing a lot more than I would imagine a disinterested Harrison Ford to do. It feels like he's at least giving it something. I think Harrison Ford today, that performance would be about 50% less, going into it.
Did he do the voiceover for the cartoon?
Yeah, they all did.
Yeah.
So, even that alone impresses me because, this is before Harrison Ford became, I think, the person we know him as. It's pre-Indiana Jones. I think a lot changed after that. But we haven't mentioned the cartoon at all.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Now, this was because you guys, this was obviously, out there when you guys were around and everything. I hear from a lot of people like this was that thing that really, kind of planted Boba Fett in people's heads as like, this is the thing, oh my gosh, this cool character, this awesome outfit and everything. And then when you got to see him in Empire.
I always thought that what really put him into the fans' mind was the San Anselmo Country Day Fair Parade.
They tried. They tried. Lord knows they tried. But, outside of that.
I think the guy in the costume, I think his name was Dwayne Deeds, if I'm remembering the name correctly. It was 100 degrees the day of the parade, and they asked him what it was like, and he said that inside the costume it was uncomfortable.
Put that on the quote. I would imagine it'd be just like with Mandy. Everything just gets super hot and sweaty, and you need some sort of squeegee. At least we know that they can take the helmets off now. Oh, what a relief!
He said when he agreed to do it, he didn't know he could never take off the helmet. But
the children saw and were like,
still
"No,
going strong."
My eyes.
The cartoon. Everybody says the cartoon is the best part, and I do agree that the cartoon is the best part. But all in all, I don't think the cartoon's terribly good. The art is very weird, and I don't want to say
that
bad.
heavy metal era of animation.
It's
super stylistic and doesn't look like the characters. And stylistic art can be great, but this art is not my cup of tea.
It's not necessarily mine either. This would not be what I would choose. I'm not super crazy about all the I from an artistic standpoint, I enjoy Mobius and all that kind of stuff. I go, oh, that's very interesting. It looks really neat. It's not super my bag, I guess. And while this is not necessarily something that I go oh wow, I really dig this. I admire what they're doing with it well enough.
And it's one of those things like it's about your flavor of style, right? And I think because for specifically Bruce and I, we've read so many comic books over the years. Bruce way more than me, but I did read a lot. That is our preference. is that Marvel house style, DC house style, in that vein. But when you look at something like the new Addams Family movie, like that style, I love that style. That's a great. It's Into the Spider-Verse. Like that's another great version of that. But when it comes to clearly people who are high animating a show, and and it's just so trippy and weird looking, and it's wavy at times. And
but it's also like it's super simple, but also very detailed at the same time, which is a tough thing to do.
And also, I mean, this was made because they'd already designed the character of Boba Fett. Lucas knew that Boba Fett was going to be included in the future movies, but the future movies hadn't been very far along in their pre-production yet. And I think they anticipated Boba Fett having much more to do on screen in the movies than he really did, because this really sets him up to be kind of like a bigger deal than I think he ever really was on screen.
I thought it was interesting to just like, because they get to that whole, oh, he's our buddy, he's our friend, and C-3PO's like, oh, no, he is not. He is a killer, and he will kill every single person in here. He will just murder
you. And Chewbacca always knew because he could smell the evil on him.
That's called he didn't shower. That's how all those Mandalorians are. Stinky. If you can't get to
I have to confess, I may not have paid close enough attention any of the 3 times I watched this today.
3 times you watched this today?
Just joking.
No, you did not.
I was about to say
once with only one eye. Is that big dinosaur thing that Boba Fett riding? Is that a myth beast?
No.
Okay.
What's that? Some Harry Potter guy?
I'm not sure what that thing is that he's riding.
Okay, because I didn't know if that's what a myth beast is or not. I didn't hear if they ever said what it was. I just know it eats everything it can or something like that.
I like how his response is just like, yeah, you do best not to feed that stupid thing. I know this sentient being just came up to you and said, hey, I'm starving. I'd like some food. You should have kicked it.
Yeah, that was our first clue he was a bad guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's just like,
when he starts whacking it.
He's going to come back at least 2 other times today asking for food, and that's a bad plan.
But in the first episode of Mandy, of The Mandalorian, when Nick Nolte's, what do we call him, an Ugnolte?
That's not our joke. But
whose joke is that?
I love the joke.
I want to give credit where credit's due if I can. Where does that come from?
Don Rickles.
The Mandalorian podcast.
So I want to give credit where credit's due. The Mandalorian podcast came up with the perfect name, Ugnolte. I think I just call him Nick Nolte, but yes. He says to the Mandalorian when he's trying to teach him to ride that 2-legged dinosaur thing, that your ancestors rode the myth beast, and I thought maybe that's what he was talking about, was this thing in the holiday special.
It's not, because I've heard, I can't even remember. I want to say it's old Boba Fett trades that I read it in.
You've heard Tale of the Myth Beast, say you?
I don't even know, like Star Wars never spells anything phonetically, so I don't even know how to spell myth beast to try to look it up.
There's probably 7 apostrophes.
Some weird Y's in there for no particular reason other than to just drive you bonkers when you're trying to like, come on, Google. And Google's like, I don't know what this is either.
And
is that a contraction?
Beast is probably spelled B-E-Z-T.
You gotta like put like a lot of like leading words all around it so it kind of gets the context of what you're looking at, because you can't just put the name in there and it goes, I don't know what you're talking about. You're like, Star Wars character kind of looks like this, and then it goes, oh, you mean this.
Well, when I search Myth Beast, I do find out that there's an esports legend in League of Legends named Myth Beast.
That's not surprising. There's 8 billion League of Legends people out there. Those people are insane. You heard me, League of Legends people. I don't care if I'm on your radar.
That's it. We're going to lose that League of Legends gig we've been trying to.
We've been trying to host the League of Legends championships for years, and I've just spit in the face of it. I apologize. Let's see. So let's go to the end here. What I guess they have like a Wookiee Eyes Wide Shut party or something. What's going on at the end?
Okay, and I do want to correct myself before someone else does it. Apparently, it's a mythosaur, not a myth beast. So that's on me.
Oh, you screwed that one up royal. We're gonna get letters. Okay, so Eyes Wide Shut with Wookiees, and they're all coming in, and then Princess Leia just sings a song for us.
I've got to say, of all the people on this show, she is by far the highest.
Yes. The other people didn't know they were using cocaine. They just got like the dust flew off of her and into them, and that's why they don't blink now.
Man, she is out of her mind in this thing.
She demanded that she sings in it, and then she didn't like the song they gave her.
Man,
I was like, what do you want to sing in there? Twist and shout?
Plus, I mean, is this song, I guess what this song is doing is trying to put lyrics to the John Williams Star Wars theme, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very much the Margot Kidder in Superman, where it's just like, I'm gonna make up. Well, there's a lot of that. I mean, even with the with Maude singing in the cantina and everything, all they did was take the cantina song and slow it down, and we gave words to it. It's great, lazy, songwriting, but I guess it worked well enough to get on television once.
I think Bill Murray did it better when he put the words to the Star Wars theme on.
without a doubt.
They were more concise than that. I'll tell you that much.
One of the few skits from old SNL that I like watching over and over.
But yeah, I honestly, like, even when Han Solo finally gets back and like he's meeting all the Wookiees and stuff, it really seems like Harrison Ford is acting in this. Like, it may not be 100%, but like at the time, it feels like he's putting in like 80-90% on this, and like it's kind of astounding.
How about
It's so funny, man. Now that you have all of this, tape on him for years and years of him not caring, like, Cowboys and Aliens, and the movie where he is the Russian submarine captain.
K-19, the
Clearly
Widowmaker.
doesn't care there. Air Force One, you can say he probably doesn't give a crap about that movie. There's a million movies. So when you see him in this and you know that he didn't want to do it, and you still see like, oh, that guy actually put in an effort. So I guess it was just money and age that made him to the point that he was at.
Yeah, he didn't get cynical yet. I don't.
Yeah,
think so.
I mean, honestly, it's Star Wars. That's his movie. That's his one hit at this point. So I don't think he realizes he has like the pull to be difficult.
But at this point, he would know that he's got a career ahead of him because he's taking phone calls and he's going in. He's taking meetings that he's never had before. Because it is after Star Wars.
Yeah, definitely somewhere between here and when they're making Empires, when he realizes he doesn't have to do this. But just the effort he puts into that stutter step when he jukes the stormtrooper off the balcony, like that is way more physical acting than I would have expected out of Harrison Ford.
He's doing that in in all of the Falcon interstitials and stuff like that, where he's like pushing buttons. Again, it feels like he's actually doing that, and like even though you look at it and it's clearly an inferior set and all this kind of stuff, super small and looks kind of crappy, he's still giving it. And I was like, and honestly, that was the most refreshing thing of all of this is like I saw a little bit of Harrison Ford caring.
I feel like maybe he had a 3-movie contract and he thought this one counted, so he was still going.
Oh man, can you imagine how great that he must have felt about that?
No,
Oh my God.
I told you 2. It was 3. That was the third one. Empire is the third. Oh, geez, fine. I'll do another one. You better not put it in the forest, though.
Man, I don't know. The only thing we haven't really talked about is Jefferson Starship, and it's an okay song. Not great, not horrible.
It's fine, but I do like the. But let's talk about this for half a second because we never really covered it. Why is the Empire coming in and flipping their house?
Because they're hoping to find Chewie, I think, or Chewie and
you want
Han.
to find Chewbacca.
And what is it? Just on account of they blew up the Death Star? I guess.
Isn't that enough?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to put it together because it didn't feel like it, or at least, or I'll put it to you this way. If they explained it well enough, I perhaps dozed off or looked at the ceiling for half a second while they were talking about
They're
it.
looking for rebel secrets.
Oh, all
Yeah,
kinds.
this is like Patriot Act stuff.
Excuse me, sir, we will flip your house. But at the same time, too, if you want to sit them down and have them watch a little bit of Jefferson Starship on the automat there, have at it.
I mean, who doesn't like a little bit of iron-fisted fascism in their holiday special?
For sure. But it is Star Wars.
Bring in the season greetings, please.
Hey, I watched every episode of Droids, and it was much more upbeat than this.
Well, you know how I get a little bit more upbeat in my holidays? I go back and I think to
Droid?
myself, well, no. I like to think to myself and I just go, how in the world does whatever I'm watching relate back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone? And while watching this, I had that exact same thought. And honestly, I don't know how it could be done.
Well, this is an honest-to-God connection, so.
Oh.
Thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Very good.
Gary Smith was one of 5 executive producers on the Star Wars Holiday Christmas special. It's not Christmas, it's just holiday. But he started in 1960 as the scenic designer on a show called Perry Como's Craft Music Hall.
Yeah.
A show that sounds like a sleep aid and should never be viewed if operating heavy machinery. Gary Smith would move up to producer 3 years later on the Judy Garland Show, a show that, according to IMDb user reviews, is amazing. And every review uses both words talented and troubled when describing Judy Garland. By the way, if there isn't a plus-sized drag queen who goes by the name Juicy Garland, then we need better drag queens.
That's true. Ooh, that's a good name.
Gary Smith would go on to make his bones producing variety shows and award shows that no one watches, like the Television Critics Circle Awards and AFI's 100 Years, 100 Cheers, and other award shows that make my teeth itch. But in 1978, he was an executive producer on the Star Wars Holiday Special, and while many, many people took a hit for making this herpes outbreak of a TV show, Gary Smith was not one of them. He would produce 2 other Christmas specials that same year. One with the Rockettes, one with Mac Davis. But 41 years later, let me ask you this. Who's talking about those Christmas specials? Then, in 2003, Gary Smith would produce and direct something called AFI's 100 Years, 100 Heroes and Villains. It's completely unremarkable in every way save one. It's this week's Stallone connection because making an appearance during this celebration that no one asked for is none other than Frank Stallone's more studious brother, Sylvester Stallone. Other notable luminaries during the show were Angela Lansbury, the real Aaron Brockovich, and Hayden Christensen. Gary Smith is good at the thing he does clearly, since he's been working since 1960. But as it turns out, what he does is not my thing. And there you have it, HMPers. This week's Stallone Connection is producer Gary Smith. You're welcome. I'm Sean Kovacs. You're welcome.
Sean, what would you say if I told you I have one of Gary Smith's produced programs on DVD?
I would say to you, are you a Streisand fan? Burt Bacharach.
I do. Listen, I am a Burt Bacharach fan. I'll tell you that right now, unabashed. But no, I have the AFI 100 Years, 100 movies. It was the first one that they put out. It's hosted by Patrick Stewart. It's like a 6-hour documentary or something like that. It's super long, but it's good stuff.
Is it?
I mean, for what it is, which is like, late 90s TV, just kind of going down that AFI top 100 list and stuff, which at the time was,
Sure.
It was new and like, oh, look at this. Everybody's saying that these are the best movies of all time. So, and to go through them one by one.
When you're a kid and you're seeing those list shows, you're really like, maybe I should check some of these out.
Oh, and that's what I did before because of that list, I went through that top 100 list. My goal was before I turn 18, I want to have watched all 100 of the AFI's top 100 films, and I did it.
You did do it.
Oh, yeah.
Good job by you.
Blockbuster came out with like a calendar, and at the last page of the calendar was a checklist, and I used that checklist and just checked everyone off as I watched them.
Oh, dang.
So a lot of good stuff there. All right, now.
What was your favorite movie of the AFI Top 100?
Well, I mean,
that was a surprise. I'm putting you on the spot, aren't I?
Well, I'm always surprised at I get like certain prestige films and stuff, but to like things like Deer Hunter, like I think is a fine film, but I don't get why everyone loves it as much as they do. There's certain ones like that, and sometimes, sometimes the silent ones are really tough to get through. Like to get through Birth of a Nation, not even if you talk about the content, just the length of it is unbelievable.
What if you're a huge like racist though? Would you like it? Like,
No,
if you're
you'd
like,
still-
if you're like, man, I just love being racist.
You'd still be bored because it's almost 3 hours long. You think about a 3 hour long silent film. You just don't really have that. But you had to get a lot for your 3 cents back in the day, I guess. I don't know.
I'm just thinking about Christmas gift ideas for my dad.
Oh.
Oh man.
D.W. Griffith did do a lot of the close-ups, so that's I'm sure he contributed to film in some. No one else would have ever thought of that one, I'm sure.
I think there's a special cut of American History X that just has the stuff that appeals to the racists in it.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Wasn't there a redemption story in this of some sort? Nope.
James Kovacs is going to enjoy that very much.
Indeed. All right, so let's get down to it. Here at Here Movie Podcast, we have our own Robin rating system. If you'd like to check out what that consists of, head on over to Facebook.com/Here Movie Podcast. Right there at the top of the screen, give us a like, why don't you? Bruce, where does the Star Wars Holiday Special fall on the Robin rating system for you?
I don't like this thing.
What?
I don't like it at all. I mean, and I'm not using hyperbole because I think hyperbole is worse than all the combined diseases that have ever affected humanity mixed into one.
This
So I
guy
don't
right
use
here.
hyperbole. But I hate this, man. I mean, it's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant. I would much rather spend 90 minutes just in quiet contemplation than watching this. And quiet contemplation is painful for me. But I don't like it. It's not even like so bad it's good. I'm not even going to try to like pretend I like it just to annoy Shanzi. I just got to be honest. Like, this is Jason Todd, like to the Jason Toddiest. Of all the Jason Todds in the world, this is the Jason Toddiest.
Get yourself a hot Jason Toddy. Sean?
While you're busy patting yourself on the back for that hilarious bit, Adam.
I'm just like, it was like, I laughed because it's so bad. I knew it wasn't good. I didn't think
okay,
it was
all
great.
right,
I was
fair
just
enough,
like, wow,
fair
that's
enough.
an awful joke that I just made, but yet I made it.
I didn't even realize it was awful. I liked it.
Of course you did. Yeah, I'm making it all for this guy. I got a party of Bruce over here that listens to my jokes.
I'm going to say that this is the worst thing that we've ever seen, and here's why I'm going to say it. It's not like this is the worst movie ever made kind of a thing. With every movie that comes out, best movie, worst movie ever.
Yeah.
This is the worst thing we've ever seen for two reasons. One is that it's really, really bad, but the bigger reason two, is because it took something that I loved as a child and it made it terrible. And when I was 12 years old, when I first got that videotape, and I first got the tape of this, Star Wars, I mean, I'm reading like the Marvel comic books, which were also terrible at the time. They weren't very good at all, but they were far, far better than this. And it made me understand that, hey, sometimes the things that you really, really like are going to let you down. And for that reason alone, this is the worst thing that we've ever seen on this show.
And it also has this horrible sin of there's a part of you that knows it's bad, but you think, man, it's going to be so much fun watching this terrible disaster, watching this train wreck and laughing at it. And it's just, you can't even do that. It's just miserable.
It's true.
And so that was a Jason Todd from you, Sean?
Oh, that is a full-on Jason Todd. That is Jason Todd as played by what's his nuts?
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell, thank you.
I'll be honest with you. Like I said, for me, this was the first time having watched this. I went in with a lot of expectations because of the little bits that I had seen, the stuff that I had heard from people. It's in no way, shape, or form good, but for whatever reason, I guess because I'd not seen it before, there was a little bit of me that was kind of curious to see what kind of crazy nonsense that we were going to see next. It's a very low Stephanie Brown for me. It may change if I watch it again because all of that will be gone. All of the kind of curiousness of what I'm about to see will have dissipated. So perhaps I'll be much more angry at it. But at this point, a very low Stephanie Brown. But it's on YouTube, so George Lucas couldn't kill it as much as he tried to. And it's amazing how he's embarrassed of this, but yet there's so many other things that he proudly shows everybody and just goes like, no, this is the best. This is the best one. And I'm like, no, it's not. Not even close. And yet you hide this. Weird. But you know what we don't like doing? We don't like hiding from new release films either, everybody. Ooh, what a heck of a segue right there. Because we went we went from the lowest of the low Star Wars down here. I think if you ask a lot of people, this was probably going to be low to the bottom of the barrel, low to the bottom of the Star Wars barrel. Maybe we need to go a little bit higher up. So we're going back into the theaters to see the last the Rise of Skywalker. I always forget the naming conventions.
I know, man. I always forget too.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I don't know. Whatever this new Star Wars is, we're going to be checking that out and everything. So hopefully, listen, all it's got to do is be better than this. And I think they could do that blind.
They already won.
So, We'll do that next week, and then, of course, after that, we're going to be having our yearly roundup there and everything. So start sending your emails and stuff for that now if you've got any questions, comments, or anything else that you'd like us to do in the last show of the year. Until then, Bruce, if there was a television show coming on, I don't know, let's just call it HBO or something, and they're at their final episode, and you want to know everything about that show, what is there anything out there that does anything like that?
Well, there's our show. There's the Redford administration, where we talk about 30 things from the big finale. Big finale coming out as it's probably on or over with by now as we're recording. So, yeah, Tuesday we'll record. It'll drop late Tuesday, early Wednesday. You'll definitely want to hear the final episode of Watchmen covered in a 30 questions format on the Redford administration.
I think we're going to have so much to talk about on that show. We'll still be 30 questions, but we may go a little bit longer than an hour because I just got a feeling.
Each question's a 4-part question.
4-part question. Well, listen, what are rules if not meant to be broken? Sean, if they wanted more stuff, where could they go?
Oh, we just put more in. The postscript episode. I mean, we'll have 11 or whatever, 10 episodes of the Redford administration. It's that easy.
Well,
anyway. And we should put this episode of HMP on our feed for The Mandalorian because it is Star Wars related. It just seems to make sense.
And we got the extra bandwidth, to be honest. We got a little space in there. I think we could throw an extra episode, a little bonus episode for those people in there that need to get on this train. Why not?
It's up to you guys, but I just thought of that just now.
But check out Mandalorian 30 questions.
If you want to find us elsewhere, you can go to the Mandalorian 30 questions. Where every single week we are shocked that we are still in love with Baby Yoda. Even right now, we are still in love with Baby Yoda. Surprisingly, with all the memes, we're still loving him. And so please go listen to our podcast there. And it's the three of us doing basically the same thing. Just it seems faster. It's still an hour, but it just seems so much quicker.
Fastest hour in the universe, everybody. Go check it out. Mandalorian 30 questions.
And a quick public service announcement to the listeners. This week, The Mandalorian will come out on Wednesday, so you can see it before the Thursday previews of The Rise of Skywalker. So you may want to...
Oh, really? So that is this week, eh?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I hear they're going to have huge implications between both. That's not true at all. I made it up just then. That's what we call acting, everybody. But if you want to hear all the good stuff, check us out, Mandalorian 30 Questions, and join us here next week for The Rise of Skywalker. Finally, supposedly, maybe, hopefully, locking all of this Skywalker, mythology up and everything, and maybe we'll go into greener pastures after that. We'll see, but we'll discover all of that next week along with you guys. So until then, for Bruce Leslie, Sean Kovacs, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty.
Let's go out with something really hot for these folks. A big hit out of 77. Star Wars. Nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars. Don't let them end. Star Wars. If they should bar wars, please let these Star Wars and hey, how about that nutty Star Wars bar? Can you forget all the creatures in there? And hey, Darth Vader in that black and evil mask, did he scare you as much as he scared me? Star Wars, those near and far wars, my seventh winter up here. Star